I am here on my own now. We're going to be talking Evolution 2. And, me and Josh did our special show on Sunday where we went over Saturday night's main event. We went over AEW All In. We talked about our thoughts on Evolution 2. I was very vocal about the fact that I believe that WWE did not need to do this show, that the Women's World Championship match could have been a main event of Raw, that the Women's Intercontinental Championship match could have been main event of Raw, the Women's Tag Team Championship match could have been on a Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. They didn't really need to do Tiffany Stratton versus Trish Stratus. They didn't really need to do Loa Vice versus Jordan Grace at this PLE. But I must admit, I was wrong. WWE Evolution 2 may have been up there, ladies and gentlemen, as the best PLE of the year from any professional wrestling company on the planet. It was an A+ show for me from top to bottom. And I'm not going to go over every match. I did tell my Brandon's World show today. You can go check that out. I'm going to give you some highlights, though, what I thought of every match. Becky, Lyra, and Bayley for the Women's Intercontinental Championship absolutely set the tone for this event. I loved how, everybody was throwing bombs at each other. The spot where Lyra Valkyria did the Fisherman Buster on Becky Lynch. Bayley was able to hit the elbow. I thought that was a great spot. The point of the match where, Becky hit the main handle slam on Bayley, but Lyra broke it up. Then you add Lyra hit the Nightwing on Becky, but Bayley broke it up. Then you had Bayley hit a belly-to-belly on Becky, but Lyra broke it up. And in the end, after a fantastic, phenomenal 5-star match, in my opinion, Bayley would hit the Rose Plant on Lyra. Becky would do the roll through 1, 2, 3. Becky Lynch retained. And then they continued that on Raw last night with a classic 2 out of 3 falls match between Lyra Valkyria and Bayley, where the winner would go on to face Becky Lynch at SummerSlam. That winner was Lyra Valkyria, who was down 1-0, won 2 straight falls, and now we get Becky Lyra 3. This rivalry to me is very similar to Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar back in 2023, where Cody won at Backlash. Brock would get his revenge in Saudi Arabia at Night of Champions. Cody would then go over at SummerSlam. Here, you had Lyra go over at Backlash. You had Becky go over at Money in the Bank. And now, to me, Lyra is going to get her championship back at SummerSlam. Whether they add a stipulation to this, I don't know. But I think eventually down the road, we're going to get Bayley turning heel. Commentary has mentioned she has not won a match since returning from injury after Becky Lynch took her out right before WrestleMania. We're going to get a more serious side of Bayley, and I think she will be the one to eventually take the Women's Intercontinental Championship back off of Lyra Valkyria, who has really broken out of her shell, in my opinion. I love this feud with Becky when she's been in, and I love the addition of Bayley ever since she's been back. Lyra entered the WWE as sort of like a little girl, right? Good in the ring, but very skittish on her promos. She could wrestle. The Nightwing was a good finish. But now even the birds and the wings and the woo is getting over with the crowd. And we are seeing Lyra Valkyria become more and more confident in the ring every single time. The next match I want to touch on briefly is the Women's Tag Team Championship match. I was not surprised that Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez retained the tag team titles. I'm on the record. They're going to keep the tag team championships until Liv Morgan comes back, whenever that may be. And at that point, they're going to lose the championships. Finn Balor is going to side with Roxanne Perez and probably JD McDonough as well. I don't know if Dominic Mysterio, I think that'll be the big turning point, right? Is Dom going to become a babyface? The way I thought Dom was going to become a big babyface, the way he got that reaction after he won the Intercontinental Championship in that fatal 4-way at WrestleMania 41, it has not come to fruition yet. Does he side with Liv Morgan? Do we get a Liv babyface versus a Raquel Rodriguez heel situation? I'm very intrigued in that. The other thing is, I like this tag team of Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. both of the women right now are not in WWE's plans in the world title picture. You could theoretically put them in the United States Championship picture because Julie is not doing anything with the championship. But Charlotte Flair was massively booed when she won the Royal Rumble. She has always felt overly pushed. WWE has tried to make her a babyface. It did not work against Tiffany Stratton. I think showing the more personality on the Charlotte Flair, the more entertaining side of Charlotte Flair, and using Alexa Bliss with her sweet nature, with the doll of Lily. They didn't put Alexa Bliss back in with the Wyatt Six and have her team with Nikki Cross and go win the Women's Tag Team Championships, which I think that's a story they could get to eventually down the line, which I think is maybe why Alexa Bliss returned with Lily in her hand. I always thought the Wyatts were part of her future. But I'm enjoying this tag team. I think those two ladies have great chemistry. They came up together around the same time in NXT. And for two veterans that are now sort of letting the younger stars in Tiffany Stratton and Io Sky and Rhea Ripley take over the main picture in the women's division, kudos to them. Also, kudos to a young woman stepping up her game in Stephanie Valkyrie, who obviously won the Battle Royal, and she will be facing the Women's World Champion at SummerSlam. At Clash in Paris, in Lyon. Who will that be? That will be Naomi after she cashed in the Women's Money in the Bank after an incredible, one of the best women's matches I have ever seen between Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. This match really kicked up when Io Sky did the missile dropkick, knocking referee Jessica Carr out of the ring. Rhea Ripley would then hit a riptide on Io Sky, and with no official, you sort of knew something was going to happen where Rhea Ripley was going to get screwed out of never being able to defeat Io Sky once again. They ended up going to the outside where Io Sky did this incredible dive off the top of some equipment. It looked like her knee hit run on the concrete. She was able to roll Rhea Ripley back inside the ring eventually, hitting over the moonsault. Jessica Carr gets back in the ring. 1, 2, and a kick out. And that crowd, which was on fire, by the way, the whole night, shout out to that crowd in Atlanta at Evolution. They said they were only going to get about 5,000 tickets in there. They sold a lot of tickets late. They got 8,000. Eventually, as I mentioned, Naomi comes down to the ring, briefcase in hand, hits Io Sky with it, throws Rhea Ripley into the turnbuckle, does the split-legged moonsault on Io Sky, and knew. And if you thought this pay-per-view, this PLE, whatever you want to call it, was predictable, I said there was going to be one championship change in this show. I thought it was going to be Jordynne Grace, who, of course, Blake Monroe turned on her in the NXT championship match, but it was indeed the Women's World Championship. As now we know after last night's Raw, we're going to get Naomi, we're going to get Bianca Belair, we're going to get Io Sky at SummerSlam in a triple threat match for the Women's World Championship, and I cannot wait for it. Naomi has been absolutely killing this character as a heel, and we all better proceed with caution. I was a little bit disappointed in the no-holds-barred match between her and Jade Cargill. I did not necessarily think it was a bad match. I thought the spots were brutal. I loved the finish of the Jaded for the table. My disappointment was Bianca Belair's seemingly lack of involvement as the special guest official. I wanted Bianca. I wanted there to be more intense spots between Bianca and Jade and Bianca and Naomi. That really did not happen. But I am excited for this. I know they did the triple threat at WrestleMania between Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and Bianca Belair. The difference here with this match is at that show was all about Rhea and Bianca, and Io sort of stole the championship, and everybody was underestimating Io Sky. Here, nobody is underestimating Io Sky and saying this feud is not about her. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky both want revenge on Naomi, who is a cutting stride heel who's going to do whatever she possibly can to retain the championship. I do think we will get back to Naomi versus Jade Cargill eventually. That will take place at Crown Jewel in Perth. When Naomi, who will retain the championship at SummerSlam, she will then retain the championship against Stephanie Valkyrie at the Clash in Paris She will take on Jade Cargill, who will win the women's championship from Tiffany Stratton at SummerSlam. And that's how we get Jade versus Naomi at Crown Jewel. Jade versus Tiffany Stratton is a match that we saw the SmackDown after WrestleMania that was interrupted by disqualification by Naomi. We get to see the full conclusion here. And it will be very interesting to see. A lot of people have argued with me that Tiffany Stratton is a better heel. I think she's a better babyface. I think Tiffy time is now. I think she's in a really good championship reign. I thought the match with Trish Stratus at Evolution was pretty good. I loved the chick kick. I loved the spot where they went right into the Stratus faction. That Tiffy was able to hit the prettiest moonsault ever for the victory. But I want to see here how they book this Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill match. Overall, when it comes to SummerSlam, let me just say this real quick before we end the night. I am very excited for SummerSlam this year. 2 nights, MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. On the current card, we obviously have the rematch between John Cena and Cody Rhodes for the Undisputed Championship. In my opinion, this match ending is not predictable. Does Cody Rhodes win the Undisputed Championship? Probably. But the question becomes, does Cody Rhodes turn heel? Does The Rock go on? We haven't seen Travis Scott since SummerSlam. Since WrestleMania. Does Travis Scott appear in some fashion? Does Cody Rhodes turn heel? And that's what forces John Cena to go back into a babyface. I think they don't need to do a lot of story here with this match. And there's a lot of meat on the bone when it comes to the finish. Over on Monday Night Raw, we have the World Championship match between CM Punk and Gunther. Mr. Unger, my usual debate partner, put out a tweet before the show tonight saying WWE got it wrong with the booking of the Gauntlet match. He thought Braun Breaker should have went over on CM Punk. I'm here to say, and I can't wait to debate this with Josh next Thursday when he returns, I disagree. I think CM Punk and Gunther is the biggest match WWE can book right now. It is a literal dream match, not like the fake ones that they call every single week they put on over there at All Elite Wrestling. This is a real dream match. It's a match I waited for a long time, and Braun Breaker is a heel. Gunther is a heel. We've seen that match in NXT, and yes, I do want to see it on the main roster. I do think Braun Breaker is going to eventually be one of the biggest stars. He's going to be a multi-time main eventer. I think he's going to get over hugely as a babyface once he's done with the Seth Rollins thing. But the thing that makes CM Punk and Gunther to me very interesting is Gunther's a very technical wrestler. He believes he is the best wrestler in the world on today's planet. He believes that this sport is real. Of course, we all know CM Punk is the best in the world. And I think these two are going to put on a wrestling classic. And I could very well see it going either way because I don't know what the plan is with Seth Rollins and the Money in the Bank briefcase. And that part I absolutely love. I was down in the dumps on Sunday when me and Josh did our special wrestling edition of the show because of not only the announcement of the injury to Seth Rollins, but also the injury to Adam Cole over there in All Elite Wrestling. Sounds like Adam Cole may have wrestled his last match. There's been a debate online that, oh my God, Seth Rollins needs to give up the briefcase to Braun Breaker. And I've always said, why? Seth Rollins has a year to cash in the Money in the Bank contract. He has till June 7th, 2026 to cash in the Money in the Bank contract. He does not need to give up the Money in the Bank contract because when he returns to cash in the Money in the Bank contract, he will get arguably a bigger pop than when he did so at WrestleMania 31 and did the Heights of the Century. It will be the Heights of the Century 2.0, and we will never expect it. And it very well could take place at WrestleMania 42. It could take place at the Royal Rumble. Hell, if Gunther's still the world champion, maybe he wrestles John Cena in John Cena's last match. John Cena becomes the world champion, and that's when Seth Rollins makes his return and becomes a dastardly heel and takes up John Cena in John Cena's final appearance. That is on the table. And what's also on the table is that SummerSlam main event, Jey Uso, Yeet, taking on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed with the help of his cousin. The return of the OTC. Birmingham, Alabama was absolutely on fire last night on Monday Night Raw for the return of the OTC 1. The Tribal Chief, the original Tribal Chief, the only Tribal Chief that matters to you, Mr. Solo Sikoa, Roman Reigns. Now the question is, who is OTC 1? What does that mean? Well, I think eventually we're going to get back to OTC 1 versus QB 1. Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, WrestleMania 42. Say it with me, for the undisputed WWE Championship. Except this time, Roman Reigns is the babyface that fans will be clamoring for to get his world championship back, because Cody Rhodes will be a piece of shit and a terrible, undisputed WWE champion who never defends the championship. It's Wrestling 101. It is in reverse, and it will be a hell of a story that WWE is going to eventually tell one day. So again, between the Undisputed Championship, between the women's feuds, between the other announced SummerSlam matches we got last night, which include AJ Styles and Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship, we still have some things to figure out about SummerSlam. Also, what is LA Knight going to do to get involved with? LA Knight's been in this feud with the Bloodline. Where does he go? Last year at SummerSlam, he won the United States Championship from Logan Paul. This year at SummerSlam, Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre are fighting against Jelly Roll and Randy Orton, who me and Josh both said on Sunday we cannot wait for that to happen. So there's a couple of questions that we need to answer. We still have a couple weeks, but the SummerSlam card is shaping into form. And in my opinion, if WWE does this right, and who knows, maybe LA Knight gets into a fatal four-way with Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso and Jacob Fatu for the United States Championship. Because I think now that Naomi's going to be on Raw, Jimmy Uso is going to move to Raw eventually, and they're going to reunite the Usos. Maybe that's where the Usos take the World Tag Team Championships off of the Judgment Day when Liv Morgan gets back. All these dots are connecting. They're all setting up. I think SummerSlam has a chance to be better than WrestleMania. Again, I like WrestleMania. I like Night 2 a lot better than Night 1. But this SummerSlam card on paper is better than WrestleMania. And SummerSlam in MetLife Stadium, the first ever two-night SummerSlam, has a chance to really deliver and be the biggest party of the summer. I cannot wait for it.